This action research is designed to improve on student engagement and my teaching through the use of project-based learning. For my first professional practice, I was placed at a school that was located in the southeast of Sydney. The school was in a mid-socio-economic area, had 478 students, half of which were male and the other half female. No Indigenous students, and 93% of the students had a language background other than English. When it came to their socio-educational advantage, 7% were in the bottom quarter, 54% sat in the middle quarter, and 39% sat in the top quarter. The school has a high focus for numeracy and literacy, and they like to integrate STEM and critical thinking opportunities for the students. They embed summative and formative assessment into daily classroom instruction and have specialised staff to help students communicate, collaborate, have creativity and critical reflection time, which also helps the students succeed. The school is also committed to deliver a differentiated program to help students who have additional needs and then their high and potentially gifted students as well. This Year 1 and 2 classroom was well presented with student artwork and literature work. There was also a section for student learning goals and success criteria for literacy and numeracy for that day. The desks were set up in a way so students could collaborate easily, and there were also portable lap desks that students could use if they felt like they worked better alone. There were plenty of opportunities for students to get rewards, with the school's token system, dojo points, and table points as well. This kept the students on task and highly motivated throughout the day. There was a diverse range of students in the classroom. Majority of the students came from a language background other than English. There was one student who had ADHD and another student who was undiagnosed autistic. And lastly, one student who had severe behavioural tendencies. These students would have an SLSO come in for 2 or 3 days throughout the week to help support these students with their learning. The class as a whole had a diverse range of learners, from students who were emerging learners to students who were high achievers. The students in this class had a sound understanding of maths, English and technology. They also worked well when there was group work. Some things that the students struggled with was working independently, lack of problem solving, and then they didn't have a deeper level of engagement in topics. So with this being said, I'm choosing PBL for my 21st century pedagogy, and I will be looking at how I'm going to improve my practice and student engagement through the use of PBL. So project-based learning is a student-centered and is based on 3 principles. These are collaborative learning and having social interactions with students to gain a deep understanding of real-world application. The learners are involved highly in the process and achieving their goals. And lastly, learning is context-specific. It gives students a drive for their own learning and the opportunity to have viable technology skills. It is a benefit for students when they receive this form of instruction. This pedagogy relates to the MEE framework. Specifically the small e, as that represents classroom engagement. And this unit of work is aimed at deeper classroom engagement. High cognitive, high affective and high operative elements come into play through PBL, with intellectually quality from students valuing their learning, and lastly, students feeling empowered. The benefits for teachers are they are easily able to cover cross-curricular matter. Student-centered approach helps out teacher self-efficacy as student engagement and motivation is high. And there is less time using behaviour management strategies as lessons are student-centered.
So for this unit of work, it will be project-based and it will be for science. So the outcome and the content outcome are the same for all 3 lessons. And for the first lesson, what I'll do is I'll get the students to watch a quick YouTube clip of the Super Mario Bros. So once the students have watched that short clip, I'll get them to think, pair, share of what objects they see in maybe other video games. Then I'll show the students some backgrounds of other video games. After that, they will pair up and grab an iPad, and I'll walk them through how to use the Book Creator app. So how to research for images, copy and paste them into the Book Creator app, and rearrange the photos to make a video game. For the next lesson, the students will be told that they are doing a project for a video game company and they need to create a background and a character for a day and a nighttime scene. So each scene needs to include things that are observable in the sky and the landscape. They must have one natural and one constructed feature. So then at the end of the next lesson, they will then make a video on how to create and use the items in your background for the game. And students are to spend the whole lesson working on this Book Creator app, creating their character and night and day landscape. So for this final lesson, students will finish off their landscape and character if they had not done so in the lesson beforehand. And once they're ready to present, they will record themselves describing the landscape and the features and how your character fits into the landscape and the game and how the character would be used throughout the game. So like how the game would play out if it was a real game. And then after that is all done, the students will complete a self-assessment, which will be shown in the next couple of slides.
So throughout this mini unit of work, there were links to the MEE framework. Some high effective links were when the students were creating the landscapes and characters as they were taking risks and negotiating with the teacher learning experiences they enjoy. High operative when they were actively participating by recording and presenting their work. And lastly, high cognitive links were learning how to use the Book Creator app, and this also allowed students to show the teacher what they are capable of. So the 5 E's of learning were also used for this unit of work. This is a solid foundation in science pedagogy and it helps in lesson planning and classroom instruction. So the 5 E's are engage, explore, explain, elaborate and evaluate. So engage was the use of the Mario video at the beginning of the unit of work. Then when they were exploring, the students were exploring the app that was being used. The explain part was when I explained what the project was about and what it was for. The elaborate part was when the students elaborated on the task and finished the project, and then evaluate was when the students were recording and presenting and self-assessing. So the observation, schedules, and student self-reflection and collecting work samples are the data collection tools I will be using. So this will be able to help, observation schedules will be able to help in giving me an idea on student engagement by observing how much the students are participating, their enthusiasm whilst participating, and the quality of work they are producing. With student self-reflection, this lets the students reflect on their own work, and by doing this, you will get an honest opinion on the work and it gives you time as a teacher to reflect on the work you are providing for your students. Collecting work samples. By doing this, you will be able to collect student work. So you are able to observe the work that the students are submitting with this observation. It can then tell you how much the student is engaged in the work with the quality of work that they are providing. So as the students are working in pairs, and there are 22 children, there will be 11 groups that I need to observe. This being said, I will observe each group for 3 minutes. I will number the groups from 1 to 11 and observe in numerical order each lesson. So this will give me 33 minutes of observation time on the class each lesson. In the 3 minutes I am observing the group, I will first observe them from afar, this giving me a true representation of the group dynamic. After observing from afar, I will then walk up to the group and then ask them simply how they are going and if they need any help. These questions will give me an idea of the ease or difficulty of the task and if the students are engaged in the learning. So here's an example of the observational data table that I would use whilst doing this task. So the student self-reflection. So when it comes to student self-reflection, this will be at the end of the last lesson when they finish the project. So it will contain questions for the students to answer about the project. This will help me to analyse the unit of work and if it was successful in engaging the students and if my teaching practices were sufficient. So I'll have a table over here and 3 questions or 3 statements, and the students can either colour in, tick, or whatever they feel is necessary in these boxes, and then they'll just answer the questions below as well. So when I am collecting work samples, the first lesson, the students won't have done work, so that is going to be assessed, but I will get them to upload their examples onto Google Classroom to make sure they know how to use the Book Creator app. So for the second lesson, how I will collect work samples, so the students will upload finished landscape and character of the game onto the Google Classroom. And then the last lesson, the students will upload their presentation onto the Google Classroom. So as this project is highly technology based, all the work samples will be uploaded to Google Classroom. So once on there, I will be able to analyse the quality of the work and base that off engagement levels. So that how the student data is evaluated for student engagement. So with the 3 use of different types of data, it will give me enough data to be able to tell if student engagement is high or low. With the different forms of data collection, it will also tell me whether engagement is consistent across all 3 forms. With covertly observing, it will help me to be able to see engagement in a short time. If I observe students knowingly, this can sometimes compromise students, as the students act differently when they know they're being watched. The reason for having students self-reflect is because there has been research that there are links to higher engagement through self-reflection. With the analysis of data, I will mark it against a rubric which will cover expectations about the project. I will analyse engagement through the observation notes I have and the quality of student work that has been provided. I will be looking for keywords that are related to the E in the MEE framework, and I will also take into consideration my actions as a teacher, such as the tone of voice I use, my body language, and the way I deliver my lessons as a whole. So to summarise this project, the action research that has resulted in being self-reflective on my teaching and gives me the ability to modify my teaching strategies and learn new things. An implication could be no matter how hard I try to engage students in the lesson, sometimes there are outside school factors that can have an effect on student learning, which can be out of your control, and that can relate back to the MEE framework, specifically the M. It also gives me the opportunity to learn from my colleagues and let them provide critical feedback for my unit of work, and then I can implement their critique into my teaching to better the student learning. So teaching this unit of work in science will definitely help with student engagement through the use of PBL. With also following the 5 E's, it will help students to enjoy science and not find it so daunting and hard. With this action research, it has helped me to meet graduate standards 1.2.1, 1.5.1 and 3.3.1. This was done by finding out how students learn and implications for teaching and finding different strategies for teaching. Here are my references that I used throughout this project. Thank you for listening.